First and foremost, shalom, giving honor and praise unto Yah, creator and the maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael. It's not going to be a long video, but just want to touch on certain things. Okay, Africa. Africa was not monolithic. Africa was not a place that all people in that particular region all agreed on the same thing, all believed on the same thing, whose knowledge was the same on everything. Now, what I'm going to say, no disrespect intended, because I know people may get into their particular stances and feelings on certain things. But there was a teaching by John Henrik Clarke, may he rest in peace, in his book entitled Christopher Columbus and the African Holocaust, that the people in Africa, or the African people, when they had war, if 6 men died, it was a great tragedy, so to speak. That doesn't resonate with the truth of a matter. Let's take Egypt, for instance, in history, in what you call the Palermo inscription. Obviously in that, there was more than just 6 people who died. If you look at, in ancient Egypt, what they call the Semna 8 War, S-E-M-N-A 8, and Semna S-E-M-N-A 16. When you look at that, and the wars that that's talking about, there's no way that even if you just take an ancient Egypt as a catalyst, as some do for Africa, as a standard and a litmus for Africa, as many do, there's no way in the world that you're going to say that looking at the Semna 8 wall and the Semna 16 wall, that 6 men on the battlefield in ancient African custom and culture and the war was a great tragedy. That's one thing to sit there and point out for edification purposes. Okay, now if you sit there and look at the Merneptah Stela and what he stated in wars between him and the people that ancient Egypt referred to as the Tujanu, all right, in today's terminology understood as the Libyans, which is west of ancient Egypt. That was not saying basically, okay, we killed 5 of their men. No, it's not stating that. We want to sit there and emphasize on what that is talking about. It says basically about being a conqueror of a people. All right, now let's just take ancient Egypt once again. There are 32 dynasties of ancient Egypt. Of the 32 dynasties, okay, there are 7 which are not native to the ancient Egyptians. All right, that is dynasty 15 and 16, which were the Asiatics, some referring to them as the Hyksos. There's dynasty 22, all right, that is in regards to the Libyans, or the people of Libu, or the Tujanu that was ruling in Egypt. All right, then there was dynasty 25 that was ruled by the Cushites. All right, that's to say Ethiopians, if you will. Then there was dynasty 27 that was ruled by the people that the Bible referred to as Elam, or the Persians. Then there was dynasty 27, 31, and 32. 31 was also ruled by the Persians. All right, then you had dynasty 32, which was ruled by the white man, that's to say the Greeks, with the rise of Alexander. So these are just certain things to be pointed out for a reason and purposes. On the walls of Karnak, Alexander is respected. According to J.C. de Graaf in his book, all right, entitled African Glory, he speaks about the aspect of what happened with Utica, all right, and what happened in Tunisia in those wars with that. Let's take Hannibal, for instance, which was before the rise of the Roman Empire to a great extent. Actually, with Hannibal, that was in the 3rd century BCE. So there was no Roman Empire at that time. It was the Roman Republic. He took his soldiers at his tender age of 17, went over out of Africa, out of Tunisia, all right, went into France, crossed with the, later on what's referred to as the Appalachian, or the Alps Mountains, that is, and then came down against the Romans. Even though he never made it to Rome, he still battled against Rome. So how would he, at the tender age of 17, all right, which is 20 years my junior, all right, how would he be able to do that unless he already had a mind for war? All right, now you look at, and I don't condone idolatry. I don't condone calling on any other God outside of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, the Most High, the Father, the Most High, the Creator. Any nation or any tribe or any clan or any family that's within Africa, when they go to war, they call upon their God, be it the Ashanti God calling upon theirs, being the Ashanti people calling upon theirs, that is, be it the Igbo people calling upon theirs, or so forth and so on. So each nation, all right, called upon, or each tribe or each people, when they went to war in the name of their own, what they understand as God. So let's understand that too, that many African nations do practice idolatry, but none practice as a African culture atheism. We want to emphasize that. Why am I talking about all of this stuff here? When you look in the Bible, right, the battle that David and Goliath had, Goliath was a Philistine. The Philistines come from Kaftor. The Kaftorim are descendants of the people of Mizraim, or the Egyptians, lineally. That Philistine said to the Israelite army, bring me a champion. If he kills me, then we'll be your slaves, and vice versa. All right? That's how ancient black nations had slaves. You lost the war. All right? So that's just something in many cases once it came down to that. So there was a thing among the Fulani people, and the Fulani people generally live from Senegal going as far east as Sudan, going as far south as Cameroon, in current Africa. All right? They were known for raiding other towns in Africa. All right? The people that is referred to as the Ashanti speak of it. The people that is referred to, all right, as the Akan speak of it. So we want this to be noted for edification purposes. All right? If you look at, for instance, the movie Amistad, many of those people being from the Temne and Mende people in Sierra Leone of current Africa. Okay, when they, even in the Hollywood movie, clubbed the white man and stabbed the white man and so forth and so on. If they had not the slightest understanding of what war was, how will they know to do that? Point is this, they're giving people in the conscious community a fake version of Africa. They're giving you an Africa that has no wars, that has no problems, that has no horrible situations. So what they've done there is the same thing the white man has done in trying to sell America, let's say the people, or North America or the United States, to people in South America, to people, let's say, name places like Ecuador, name places like Venezuela and everything of that sort. They're giving them a fake America. All right, they're not going to sit there and tell you if the camera can go over right where that garbage is over on the side. All right, and you can see that they're not showing them that when they sit there and show America. All right, so we just want that to be noted. They're not showing you the newspaper articles, all right, that sit there and get into the aspect and get into the actual truth of what happens in a matter, because they show you what, Mount Rushmore. And inside of ancient Kemet, they show you Abu Simbel images. All right. Now in America, they'll show you the great things that they have in DC, but they're not showing you in DC the newspaper articles, all right, that speak about the man with a plunger in his behind. They're not showing you about Tamir Rice when the cops was acquitted. They're not showing you about the black girl that was shot at the, if I remember right, at the age of 7, and she was acquitted. They're not showing you that. They're not going to sit there and tell you that on the American walls. So when the people in the conscious community pimping Kemet to the people say, oh, we don't even have to worry about the papyri or the papyrus. We're just going to sit there and just look at the glorious thing of the walls and look at Order the Metunetter. And that's the same thing America is trying to sit there and sell to the people. They're not going to show you, once again, show the camera over there, please. They're not going to show you the garbage. You understand what I'm saying? When you see pictures of America and advertisements and everything like that, you don't see that. You don't see the rats that be on 5th and 6th Avenue in Manhattan. You understand? They don't show you the rats, literally rats that be on Lexington Avenue and 53rd Street where the 6 and the E train is at. They're not going to sit there and show you that. They're going to, as stated, give you a commercialized, a fake version, a make-believe, unrealistic version of what they want to present as America. They're going to show you the glamour and the glitter and the lights on Times Square and 42nd Street. They're going to show you the Hollywood symbol that's on the mountains over in California. They're going to sit there and show you how the Red Sox is a good team. They're going to sit there and show you all of their heroes in sports, black and white alike. You understand what I'm saying? But they're not going to sit there and show you the people that have to sit there and live in trailers while they have careers. Keeping it 100. There are people who have careers that live in trailers because they can't afford certain things. They're not going to sit there and tell you that before they do an interview by Washington, D.C. or in D.C. by Pennsylvania Avenue, they have to sit there and tell the homeless people to move out the way. They're not going to sit there and tell you that. You see, so that's the point. They're not giving you the real uncut raw story. The Bible, on the other hand, the Tanakh, the Old Testament I'm talking, gives you a raw uncut story. There was a man who had many sheep, many animals, and he took this other guy's one lamb. What? That's a bad thing to do. That man shall surely be put to death. David, that's you. Me? Yeah, you. See, the scriptures is going to give you the raw story about how a person is respected as a great king, but did commit adultery. It's not going to sit there and try to cover that type of aspect up. You understand? So that's what we want to sit there and present. The papyrus of ancient Egypt speak about Pepi being perhaps a homosexual of Dynasty 6. Do the walls show that? The scriptures lets it be known that the tribe of Benjamin was heavy into sodomy or homosexuality. It says that the sodomites were in the land, so therefore the word Qadesh for male sodomite and Qadeshah for female sodomite, one being in layman terms male faggot, female lesbian, so forth and so on. That terminology does not mean temple prostitute. All right, so that's a whole nother subject. But getting back to the point of this here, with this fake ideology that they're presenting as so-called real Africa, that is a punk, pacified version of Africa that they're trying to present. Because they want to use the so-called African American and even the so-called West Indian to become passive, to become weak, to sit there and think that your ancestors were not fighters, were not warriors, were not soldiers, did not have order and structure even in war. Now, majority of the slave ships came from Western Africa. Even if you look at the Hollywood version of Zulu and everything of that sort, they were saying, what if war comes like this? You see the people there with their shields. You see the people there with their spears. They were not cowards. The British in the 1880s and in the 1870s stated that the Zulus that they fought in Southern Africa was some of the hardest fighters for them to ever have to deal with. What are you talking about when you're saying that African wars and wars with people in Africa, if there were 6 men, that was a great tragedy? What are you talking about? The facts of Africa from ancient times, even if you want to use ancient Ethiopia, even if you want to sit there in ancient Egypt, even if you want to go to Hannibal Barca, even if you want to talk about a little bit more modern times with Shaka Zulu in the 1870s, that doesn't compute. That's that. No, that's that. I'm going to leave it.